Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. This is John from Flippin' Ain't Easy. And another holiday weekend. And for me, one that just wasn't great with sales. The volume of sales was there, just a lot of low priced items. But given the fact that, adding Monday in the mix, I'm thinking my sales were probably down, say 15-20% from a normal, just non-holiday type weekend. So hopefully now that's the last summer holiday that we have to deal with this year. And hopefully that's behind us. We can focus on here in the fall, then going on into Q4 here in the next month. So hopefully you guys are gearing up for that. Wanted to let some people come on in, but while we're waiting, want to go over a couple things. If you're watching the live stream with us right now, please participate, comment, to say hi, or leave a question in the comments. And certainly one of myself will try to address it on the live stream, or someone will address it in the chat. If you're watching this after the fact, I'm sorry you couldn't make it. Maybe next time. We do this on Mondays. That's why we're not doing it yesterday, because of the holiday. And thanks to Tommy for reminding me. And I was totally spaced out when we were chatting about it. But Mondays and Fridays is generally when we do this. And we will be doing a live stream on Friday. Have a special guest, Cincinnati Picker, will be on the live stream. So try not to miss it. But if you're missing this one, watching it after the fact, hit the like button, of course, but comment down below and let me know if there's something that you want to add to the conversation. Maybe you have a question or just a comment about the live stream itself. So again, no matter how you're watching it, hit the like button. That's all I ask. Doesn't do any good to hit it more than once, because if you hit it more than once, it'll toggle on and off. So just hit it once. Let the algorithm know. Let me know that at least you appreciate the time that I take to come in and talk to you guys. And really, I don't think of it as a burden at all. I enjoy talking to you guys. I look forward to it. It kind of breaks the monotony. When you're a reseller and you're out in your workspace and you're listing away, it can get kind of monotonous. And so you look forward to things like this, where you can kind of just take a minute. In this case, an hour and 30 minutes is what we usually do. But take time and just hang out with the people and see what's going on, and try to learn. If I can learn something from you guys in this live stream, hopefully you guys can learn something from it. Then I think it was time well spent. So I want to say hi to No One Design 2. We have Kevin Thorne. We have Hi Ina. We have Wanda Greer's in the house. Victor Warriorka. Ed's here. We got Prairie Pond, James Helms, Gail Carson, Michael Biddle, and Posser Independent Trading Company is in the house. So thank you for dropping by Tuesday evening for some of you, Tuesday afternoon for the rest of us. And wanted to touch on a couple things, and that is, we talked about the slow sales, and I think that was kind of expected. Very hot weather out here, very good weather, and I think that the Labor Day holiday weekend has always been a popular time for people to get out and about, out of the house, and I think that had something to do with it, because my Friday was actually pretty good. I had about a $450 day, and then it went to virtually nothing Saturday and Sunday. And then Monday, it kind of picked back up a little bit. So the pattern tells me it has everything to do with the holiday weekend. And let's just hope that the slow summer sales are now behind us, and we can't use that as a crutch anymore. We need to get out there, get listing, fix our listings. I've been doing a series of videos, and I still have more to do. We did one on titles, did one on your item description. And each one is to get you to kind of look deeper into your listings, so that we can maybe take the idea that maybe something's broken with eBay out of the equation, take control of our own listings and our own success, and start increasing our sales. So, the idea, I was talking to Archie today, and a lot of the material I come up with, I have these conversations with Archie a lot. We talk about things that are happening with his account, things that are happening with my account. And these conversations are really gold as far as I'm concerned. And we've always had good conversations as it pertains to, eBay and reselling in general. And today I was talking to him about the idea that my only negative, he says he got his negative feedback removed, and I still have a negative feedback. And it was a situation where the buyer just out and about left a negative feedback and never contacted me before giving me the opportunity to make it right. Okay. And so I couldn't really do a whole lot with that. I mean, you reach out to the buyer, they don't respond. There's not a whole lot you can do. Of course, you can leave a reply to the negative feedback, and you do that in a professional way so that the next person, because the next person, see, for me, the negative feedback doesn't mean a whole lot anymore. It used to. Of course, it's a negative ding on your account. It hurts you a little bit, I believe, within the first 48 hours of receiving the negative in a small way. But to me, it's more about someone that's very careful. There's a lot of people out there that are very careful of who they do business with, and they will look at your feedback. And if you come back with something snarky, if you come back with something that's very defensive or attacking to the buyer on your replies, then they're going to look at that and say, I don't know, this person seems kind of off and I'm not going to do business with them. But if you come back as professional, state what you've done to try to resolve the problem, then I think a lot of people will kind of disregard that negative feedback. But, for me, it got me to thinking about these seller protections that eBay gives us. And it isn't a whole lot, to be honest with you. I was looking through it. The only seller protections that I really see here used to be exclusive to top rated sellers, that they would step in and allow you to use the refund tool, and they would remove any negative feedback provided you got the return. Now it's open to pretty much anyone. They do have a situation where, and that's on a, by the way, that's for a damaged or an item that's damaged or missing, where you can deduct 50% off, that type of thing. Or when a buyer, now this is for top rated sellers, for buyers who claims item not as described, they will give you, eBay states that they will give you a $6 return label credit on that return. And I've only received it one time in the entire time that they've put this $6 deal into effect about a year or two ago. And of course, you have to report the buyer, and then they will go in and try to determine whether or not it is a false INAD. And again, it could be just the buyer's word against yours, and the buyer could have zero feedback. You could have thousands of feedback as a seller, and because it's the buyer's word against yours, generally they won't give you the $6 credit. And that's a shame to me, because you've worked your tail off to establish a reputation on eBay, to show your buyers that you can be trusted. Yet the buyers believe it and they buy your items, but yet eBay treats you as if you're someone off the street that's just starting to sell for the first time. There isn't any protection or any credibility that they look at there. It's just pretty much one word against the other. And eBay needs to do a better job, I think, because that's not, to me, that's not seller protection. When you're saying that, we'll look at it, we'll see if this is item not as described. Well, first of all, someone could say item is not as described for a number of reasons. And how are they going to, even if you report the buyer, how are you going to prove otherwise against what the buyer is saying? So I think this is a crafty way for them to pretend that there's buyer protections. Really, there isn't any other buyer protections. I mean, if you have an item that, let's say they retracted their bid or didn't pay, and Archie and I had this conversation, I was kind of trolling him a little bit. And this is kind of funny. We were talking about, if a buyer doesn't pay for your item on auction, and they decide, for whatever reason, maybe you send them a nasty message saying, hey, you should pay, you loser, you need to pay, or whatever, which you shouldn't do, by the way. And they decide to leave you a negative feedback. And my argument, and it wasn't really an argument, I was just trolling him, because the policy is clear that if someone doesn't pay for your item, that the eBay will, as part of your seller protection, will remove that negative feedback. but I got under his skin. I really did. And I knew I was getting under his skin. And I told him, I said, look, I'll make you a deal. I'll make you a deal. I will make an offer on your item. Okay. You accept it. I'll just choose a $5, $10 item. You accept it. I will not pay. And I will leave you a negative feedback on your account. This is on my other buyer's account, onto his seller's account. I will leave you a negative feedback. And I will word it in such a way where eBay, I don't care what the policy says, they will be inclined not to remove it. Now, we had a $10 bet. We were going to do that just to see as an experiment. I thought it was pretty funny because I know that depending on the rep you get, and eBay, they don't know half their policies, that it would have been pretty funny to see what happened. Now, he got kind of all bent and he sent me the policy. Yeah, they'll cover me. And so I sent him a thumbs up and or like a clapping emoji. And he's like, you knew all along. And I of course I know the policy is, but I was half tempted to still go ahead and make that bet because knowing the policy and knowing how eBay operates, that unless it's an automated thing, which I think it is, if you're relying on an eBay rep, I'd say about half of them, and I'm being generous here, don't follow eBay policy, and they go off the hip. They tell you what they think. Because I had a situation today with eBay where I had a buyer, and I'll tell you about this story here in a minute. Let me finish this part and I'll go into that because I go off on my tangents and I don't want to do that here. So I trolled Archie and he accepted it and it was kind of funny. But to me, I really wanted to see, maybe even make a video about it, what would happen if I, knowing the policy, didn't pay for his item, if he would get or keep that negative. And I don't think he really wanted to chance, but I told him, I said, just send me a revision after this whole experiment's done and I will, of course, take it off. But we didn't. It would have been a good material, I think, for a video, but it never transpired. So, the seller protection, of course, buyers have all the protection in the world. Seller protection, they will protect you in cases where you have a package that, let's say you shipped on time, it doesn't arrive on time, because again, eBay is making these guarantees, these arrival guarantees. We have no control over it, right? We just ship it out by the date we're supposed to ship it. As long as we do that, and the item it arrives late or whatever, then they'll cover that. Things like that is what we're looking for. I had another negative feedback that was automatically removed because the thing just never showed up. It was like a little baby Yoda, the Mandalorian Hot Wheels. And, ended up giving the guy his money back and all that. And, this is after him leaving a negative. And of course, I can't have any control. You're leaving the country, the day after eBay says you're going to get it and you don't get it. Well, I can't do anything about that. But eBay went in and automatically removed that negative feedback. So that's part of their seller guarantee or seller protection. As far as like chargebacks, if a buyer files a payment dispute and the transaction's eligible for protection under payment seller dispute protections, they'll cover the amount of the dispute, waive the $20 dispute fee, and remove the feedback related to the transaction. But you have to be top rated. You have to have a history of good conduct on the site. You can't misuse protections. Of course, you offer 30-day or longer returns. And my suggestion to Archie, and I think I may have brought this up, and I would be 100% willing to do this as a seller. If eBay came and told us, look, you are no longer allowed to use no returns again. Now, before you click off the video or click that down thumb button, whatever, hear me out. First of all, we've talked about this. There is no such thing as no returns on eBay. Okay. You could put it all you want in your item description, which you shouldn't, because it's a deterrent for the buyer. We talked about that in the last video. But if you have no returns, they can claim INAD all they want. It's their word against yours. We've already talked about that. And you have to accept the return label. So I'm willing to give that up, okay? And just say, we either have seller pays for returns or buyer pays for returns. Give up no returns, okay? You take that off the site. Now, in return, you increase seller protections. And You program this, eBay can do it all day long. Simply go in and require, before a buyer leaves a blind negative feedback against the seller, they have 24 to 48 hours, or actually they have to leave a message or send a message to the seller and ask the seller to make whatever the problem is right. Okay. Now, of course, they can't ask for a partial refund. They should leave that up to the seller to determine if that's something they want to offer. But at least they should reach out and say, hey, I have a problem with this item. It arrived in a different condition than I thought it would, or this is broken, or it's not the right color, whatever it is. You go in and as a buyer, you reach out to that seller. Now, the seller has 24 to 48 hours. I think that's fair enough to reply back to the buyer and make an attempt to resolve their problem. Okay. Because again, I think sometimes a lot of these buyers think the only avenue they have is through negative feedback. They don't even think about the messaging system, okay, or reaching out to the seller. So they leave the negative feedback. And sometimes I think they might think that's the only way to get the seller's attention. There's a lot of sellers out there who won't reply to a negative or won't reply to a message, but might reply to a negative feedback. So they automatically go to the nuclear option, to the negative feedback, thinking that, they're getting over, they're getting one on the seller. But in this resolution, you give the seller 24 to 48 hours to get back to them and say, okay, here's what I want to do to resolve this problem. Now, after 48 hours, after you sent that message as a buyer, no response, no resolution, hasn't worked out the way you thought it was, go in and you leave a negative feedback, okay? And then it opens it up. So you can't just leave a negative feedback without making an attempt to try to solve your own problem. Could be a misunderstanding. There's so many negative feedbacks that I've seen that is just a result of a just simple misunderstanding. And how many times, excuse me, how many times have I seen a rebuttal saying, if only the buyer would have reached out, we would have solved it. We try to, make everyone happy, that kind of thing. eBay needs to do this. And of course, we give up the no return policy and we get something that's real seller protection. And that is forcing the buyer to communicate and work with the seller before they do something rash and ridiculous. And again, negatives don't matter as much as they used to, but they sure leave a negative impression on your next buyer. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Let's see who we have here. We have No One Designs says, hey, John and FAE gang. We have my buddy Kevin Hawthorne from Lakeland, Florida. Ina says, hello from England. Awesome. Wanda Greer says, howdy from North Carolina. Victor Wawiorka says, hello. Ed says, hey, John, how you doing? Prairie Pond, hello from Oklahoma. James Helm says, hello from West Palm Beach. We have Gail Carlson in the house from Kansas City, Missouri. A great barbecue that they have. I love me some barbecue. My buddy Michael from Utah says, hi, John. This is Mike from St. George. This weekend was great for sales. Sold twice to match as I normally have. That's awesome. Better for you than me this weekend. I didn't do so great. Friday started off great and I was hopeful, but I was also cautious because, hey, it's a holiday weekend. And generally when people aren't around, looking at eBay, they're out having fun with friends at the lake, the river, the ocean, whatever it is. They're not thinking about me and my eBay store. Prosser says, hi, all. Hello, how you doing? Let's get on to some of this here. And Janet also left a little heart emoji. BXX32 says, eBay has been so up and down lately. While some days are good, there are days with absolutely no sales at all. It feels just like a faucet or pipeline being intentionally turned on and off by eBay. I really remember that game, that video game from years ago, Roller Coaster Tycoon. It almost feels like they're trying to create a roller coaster ride for that game because it's just up and down, the whoopity whoops and the drop offs and all that. So I agree with you on that. Chris Starr says, hello, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today. Ed, the reselling writer, says, my sales were really great during the holiday weekend. And again, it could be, you sell a lot of clothing and shoes. Been doing I have like a tote of clothing and I've been listing that kind of stuff too here over the weekend. And it could be that because this is this time of year. I think it's March, April, and I think it's September. Those are the peak seasons. And Tommy could probably, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the peak season for shoes and then that type of thing, accessories, because kids are getting back into school and that type of thing. Savage Pickers are in the house. Hello all. Sales are good this weekend and today. Ping G says, good afternoon, John. How are you doing today? And I can't complain about sales really. I mean, behind me, you can kind of see the little bag that I have full. So I have a full bag, plus I have 2 big boxes. I have like 6 UPS ground packages, but that's incorporating Monday. And, coming off of an average of 10 sales a day is kind of what I've been doing lately. And it feels like a little bit of a drop off. Maybe I'm just being kind of picky about it and whining about it, but just wanting to share what I'm doing with you guys. Janet says, do you recommend using promoted listings for all the listings? Not all the listings. Knowing the type of items that you sell, if you're selling items that are highly competitive, which means that if you search for that item on eBay and you see a lot of other people selling it, then that same item, the same condition, then you want to consider, and I think anything more than, let's say, like 15 similar listings, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the same brand, because if you're dealing with a third-party brand on, let's say, I think I put out an example on one of my shorts, like a women's lunch box kind of thing, like a little bag. Well, I might have a third-party off brand, but I might be going up against like 20 or 30 different third-party brands. Customers don't care about that. They're looking for a lunch bag. So I'm going to look to see, while I'm up against 40 different lunch bags here for women, I might want to promote that. Now, if you have something that's very rare or something that doesn't have comps, could be a couple things. Now, if it doesn't have comps, it could be something that's a Vero magnet, like 1090X, I think is what it is, or something that shouldn't be sold on eBay. And then you got to be kind of careful with that, which is very rare. Usually, if you're dealing with collectibles or something that isn't very common, then you will find that it doesn't even make sense to promote. I have another store that I don't even use promoted listings. I use my store. I use my markdown sale. I use my coupon to try to drive the business rather than using promoted. And I'll get a couple sales here, a couple sales there. It's about a 200 item store. And for me, it's determining whether or not I should even try to use promoted. Now, I guess I could use promoted on some of the records I'm selling. They're not in good condition. I'm not making a whole lot of money off of those records, and for the ones that I've sold. So for me, it's not even really worth it. I'll just let them sit until the right buyer comes along. That's more of a fun account where I'm selling stuff like the patches and these old records and that kind of thing. My main account's a different story. I will go in and I will promote most of my items because most of my items have high competition. And as a result, I'm successful at it. So as a starter, just look at your items and determine each time by doing that, looking at the comps. Biff Buffo says, for me, Saturday and Sunday were okay, but Monday tanked. Tuesday has been a nice bounce back. So that's awesome. Tuesday hasn't really been great for me. I think I've had a couple sales. I had 2 sales today. So it is starting off slow. But again, I think it's people get up in the morning, they look to buy your item, and maybe early in the morning to the time they leave for work, they're doing some phone shopping. Of course, people are at work. They get home from work and you get a lot of sales, at least in my opinion. I get a lot of sales in the evenings as well. So not a whole lot. I mean, now that we're having a live stream, I think hopefully you guys can bring me some luck and get me a sale. But I think I had 1 sale before we actually went on the air. So 2 to 3 sales today is what I've had. BXX32, I know you recommend continuing to utilize seller best offer. So fed up with it. Had 1 accepted yesterday. 3 hours later, buyer contacted me and claimed they never accepted it. Yeah, right. Yeah, usually they claim that their 3-year-old child, clicked a couple buttons, but I think it's more than a button click. I think you click, you hit the accept button, and then you basically verify that you did that. I don't think it's so easy to where you can just click the button once. Buyers are going to do that. Go in and block them because you don't want to have to, they might change their mind and want your item later, and you don't want to deal with someone like that. So I'll go in and immediately block them. And I am actually happy that they would reply back and tell you, look, they didn't accept it, or they didn't want it, or they changed their mind, because I don't have to wait 4 days to relist it. I'll just, now you could do it if you want to kind of punish the buyer and wait 4 days and, click on buyer didn't pay. But for me, it's more about getting that item back up. And that's kind of what my motivation would be. And so that's a good thing that they'll kind of get back to you and let you know. Let's see what we have here. Trying to catch up with you guys. You guys are far ahead of me. We have James Helms. My sales have slowed way down. I decided to download the listing quality report mentioned by you and Tommy. There are quite a few suggestions from eBay. How much are these really going to help? I mean, I think some of them are good and some of them are kind of questionable. If I'm using my comps to determine my pricing and eBay is making other suggestions, I mean, I think that you just need to look at the basics. I mean, Tommy may use that report more than I do. I go back to the basics and I start looking at, okay, why is this item not selling? And so I'll look at my prices and I'll compare my prices to theirs. Now, I'm not comparing my used item to a new item, trying to get a new price. I think that's sometimes what a lot of us do. We need to be honest about our condition, compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges, and go in and price the item accordingly. While we're at it, take a look at our competitors' photos, take a look at their listings, and try to touch on some of the things I've been talking about with your title and your item description. I will be coming out with some more videos because I haven't touched on all of it, but I wanted to break it down by each individual component of the listing, and should have another one out here probably in the next day or two. Steven says, hey, John, caught the live. I had a good weekend, changed some titles and item specifics. It really helps. It does. It does. I think sometimes we look at it as, look, I just want to get X amount of listings up. Okay. And the faster I do it, the better. That's what a lot of people talk about, right? On YouTube. So let's get as many listings as I can up. And you know what? People say it's not important to focus on item specifics. So let's leave those blank. Let's just go with whatever listing I'm piggybacking off of. And, I'll be all right. And I think that's the wrong mindset to take. I'm constantly now filling out my item specifics and trying to get as much valid information I can on the item. I feel like, if I'm in competition with someone, if I have better photos, if I have a better title, if I have better item specifics or more complete item specifics, maybe I don't know off the top of my head about this specific item specific they're asking me for, but I can find out. And you find out because that's one less question you have to answer for a prospective buyer anyway. And that's going to help build your quality, complete listing. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that. So keep doing what you're doing, Stephen. That's awesome. Prosser says, it's far too easy to blame eBay when the reality it's our own listings that's at fault. I think it's something that we all have been guilty of, but our vid on listings is an eye-opener. So yeah, I appreciate that. And I think sometimes, look, eBay is not without fault. Okay. eBay is at fault when it comes to when they update their software, when they do the spring seller update. And I think there's a winter update coming soon. I mean, you'd think that they would announce it by now, but they haven't. But when they make an update and it breaks our listings or it loses our photos or it hides our listings because there's something wrong, well, you could do everything you're supposed to do and your items are now caught in that vacuum and your items aren't going to be visible for the most part until eBay fixes that problem. So eBay has been the source of these problems, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when everything's working as it should and you're still not getting sales. Well, it's one of two things. And I'll keep repeating that. Your items either suck or your listings suck. And you need to address both of them if you want to be successful, because you can have great items and crappy listings, or you can have crappy items and great listings. And that's a bad combination. Juan Martinez, is UPS Ground considering expedited shipping? No, it's not. In fact, I had a buyer that bought a neck massager from me, and they're also looking at another item. I'm not sure if they're a viewer or not, but they reached out and said, look, I've got to be somewhere on Friday, or actually I think for the weekend, and I want this item, but I don't, if you send it ground, it's not going to get here in time. I think they're up in Michigan somewhere. And they said, can I pay the 3-day UPS? I don't know if it's priority or whatever it is. And so I'm fine with that. I'll set it up that way. You just need to let me know so I can change my policy, my shipping policy. And they said, fine. I gave them a quote, went on to Pirate Ship, got there. They gave me the city they're in and the zip code. That's all I need. I just find a generic address in that town, plug it in and see what, with those dimensions and the weight, what the 3-day UPS would be. And it's not a whole lot more. And they were willing to pay it. I think instead of paying like $15, it was like 19 and change. And they were happy with it. We set it up and we got it out today, and hopefully they get it on Friday. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be there on Friday. So let's see what happens. But check on Pirate Ship, plug in your weights and stuff. And then when you click on UPS, there should be a drop-down box. It'll try to default at UPS ground, but click on that box and it'll drop down with other options for UPS. No One Design 2 had a weird issue with eBay this morning. I always jot down my listing count and check it the next day after listing more items. And today I've lost about 200 listings. I've called eBay and they put in a ticket to tech support. Yeah, that's a quick answer to see what happened, but I won't get any reply for 24 to 48 hours. So I'll have to report back when I get an answer. Yeah, that's frustrating. And I don't know what's going on. Maybe they're tinkering in the background with certain categories. I don't know, but definitely stay on top of that, because, you know, every hour that passes and your item's not available for someone to see is an hour you're not getting sales. And, you know, it's funny. I was going to tell you a little story and I just totally forgot to do it. So I'll take a break from your comments real quick and tell you what happened. I have a DJI it's a 2-pack. It's like 2 batteries for a drone. I guess, I don't know, the Mavic or whatever drone that came in my pallet, and it looked to be in like open box, but like never used condition. I mean, it had the internal packaging and everything. And I sold it. I think they retail for like $2.99. I think I sold it for like $2.20 plus like $10 shipping. Sent it out. Weeks passed, and the guy sent me a message saying, you know what? I just got back from vacation. Just tried this out. I was able to update it, was able to do everything, but my drone just flashes at me when I put one of the batteries in. I don't know if he tried the other battery or not. So of course he wanted to return it. So I get him back and I said, okay, look, I'm going to sell these parts of repair. Let the people know that this was sent back because they weren't able to get it to work. I don't have a drone to test it on, but when I do check the battery, when you push the button, it shows like it has 3 bars or 4 bars that it does take a charge. And I'm going to sell it for parts repair, start off at $19.99 and just see what the market allows for it, you know, under the guise of parts of repair. And of course, within the first day of the bid's over $100, and I'm like feeling like, oh man, I mean, I already hate that, because that means that, you know, if something doesn't work out, someone's not going to be happy, but I've done everything I can to describe the item. Well, today it's ending, I think sometime in the next 2 or 3 hours. I got up this morning to a couple emails from a buyer who said, is this good? Does this work with the DJI, whatever new DJI drone that came out? And of course, no, it doesn't work with that. And they said, if not, please cancel my bids. But I'm thinking, why didn't you just reach out to me and ask me this before you bothered to bid? So I went on and I went to go cancel her bids, or his or her bids. I don't know if it's a him or her. Went to go cancel the bids, and it gave me the green box like I did get the bids canceled. But after 20 minutes, her bids were still there. His bids were still there. And I'm like, well, what's going on here? So I called eBay, and, you know, it's one of those things where it's a shot in the dark. Of course, the first rep gets on the phone and tells you, contact the buyer, have them call us to have the bids canceled. I'm like, well, first of all, I don't want to rely on this buyer. If they fail to call you, then what's going to happen is I'm going to have to relist this and wait another 7 days, because that person already said they weren't going to buy it. Okay. You can see in the messages. So please protect me. Go and look at it and just take care of it. If you're not willing to do that, put me over to a supervisor. So they put me over to a supervisor, or I think it wasn't a supervisor, someone in a different department. I think the resolution department or whatever it was. And then they sent me through a different way to cancel the bids. And then when I got to that, it gave me an error message saying that the bids were already canceled. So it made me think that someone in the background, maybe one of the reps, removed the bids for me, but took me through that process anyway. So thankfully that was resolved. But the moral of the story is, when you have an issue you can't resolve yourself, you can call eBay, but almost every time, and I think I told this to Archie, almost every time, if you don't get the answer you're looking for, escalate the call to someone else and ask for a supervisor, because these reps, even if they are giving you an answer correctly 1 out of every 10 times, half of them don't even know what they're talking about. Okay. And when you get someone that's more in a specialized department, chances are they're going to give you a different answer, which is what they gave me, because that second rep didn't give me the line of, oh, reach out to your buyer. And I think that's the easiest way. And the mentality that a rep has on the phone is to get you off the phone, because that's what the company wants. They don't even want you to contact a rep. They want you. And if you try to call the 866 number for eBay, you get through this menu where it tries to give you an offline answer or a resource to go to, and it wouldn't even connect me to someone. I had to go the old way and request a callback today, because they're constantly trying to find ways to keep the cost, because it costs a lot of money to run these call centers, to keep the costs low by keeping the number of call volume or the call volume low. And that's what they do. But their interest is more that than to help the prospective buyers or sellers out. And I think that's a shame. eBay really needs to do better. But I think that's really business in general. If you call somebody to resolve an issue, they would rather you go and resolve it yourself on that on their website. We've got Disgruntled Octopus in the house. How you doing? Stevens has just caught the live, had a good weekend. I think you told me that, and I didn't see that, so thank you. Okay, I'm just clicking around like an idiot now. Chris Starr says the market goes up and down. People ebb and flow. Item interest fade in and fade out, and people blaming eBay for every single day is ROFL and cop doors. So I don't know what cop doors means, but I'm sure it's not good. Jay Manchester says, I'm in the process of dealing with the scammer and don't know how to deal with the situation accordingly. Comment with more information. Maybe we can help you out, because there's lots of different ways you can try to get scammed, or people can try to scam you on eBay, and maybe we can help you figure it out. Flippin' Goody says, I sell on all platforms. Overall, eBay has the best seller support, believe it or not. I've dealt with Mercari. Now, of course, you have to deal with, typing things in. They've been pretty good. A couple times I've had to deal with them, but then again, they're scripted. They're not allowed to use their best judgment, and they have to stick to the script, no matter how compelling your argument is. And you might be right on that, but you have to get past the first level to get the service that you're looking for. If you just take the answer that you're given by the eBay rep, chances are, even if they're giving you the answer that you wanted to hear, it might not be correct. Let's see. Picky Ricky's in the house. eBay wouldn't back me the other week when I sold an expensive double pack of HP printer inks when the buyer returned his old used ones that clearly were empty. And they were brand new and triple sealed as well. I deal with inks. I deal with toners. I got to tell you, and I've gone to the point where if it's an open box, and let's say the pouch is sealed, but the box has been opened, I have a database. I have an Excel spreadsheet where I actually weigh that, okay, because next time I might get one where the pouch is opened. So I weigh that, and I will put in my listings, the weight of the pouch plus the toner. And that way, if it comes back, I can weigh it, right? If it looks visually the same, to make sure they didn't swap out their old one. Now, that works well, but the fact that you put that in the listing, they know it's going to be tougher to scam you than the next person. But simply, all you're really going to be able to do here is one of two things. Either use the eBay refund tool, and that gives you the ability to refund up to 50%. And I take the whole 50, by the way. Do not refund the original shipping. Put your photos in there and your reasoning and fire it off, and just, you know what? It's the cost of doing business. You can write that off as far as your costs of doing business at the end of the year. So it's not a total loss. Or you can go to ic3.gov, file the report, the internet fraud report, then go to eBay with that information. And they, in many cases, and I've done them 2 for 2 with it, Haven't had to use that much, but the 2 times that I did do it, of course, they give the buyer their money back, but they basically keep my funds available to me, and they don't take anything from me. Of course, bad behavior gets rewarded. So it really depends on how you want to handle it. But you're not out 100%. Use that seller protection. I mean, the limited seller protection. Jay Manchester. And by the way, real quick, Ping G says, report the buyer. When you do the 50% deduction on the refund, the buyer is already reported to eBay. So you don't have to go back in. In fact, you try to go back in and report the buyer, it'll say it's already been done. Jay Manchester, I sold someone a Peter Hunt 1943 hutch, and they're claiming not as described because I won't give them a $400 discount on something I dropped the price significantly. Now, I hope they wrote that, didn't just insinuate they want a discount, but they wrote in there that they want a $400 discount on the item to make it right, because they cannot ask for something that they cannot change the terms of the listing. They either accept it or they can return it. Okay. There is no in between. They can't negotiate a way to make them happy. Now that might make them happy, and that recommendation or offer needs to come from you, because once they open that box, you can get the negative feedback removed because of that. They cannot come in and ask or demand something that wasn't as part of the deal. And the deal was, let's say you sold it for $2,000. The deal was $2,000. It wasn't $1,600. So I would definitely fight that, but that is built into, the limited seller protection that eBay provides us. Picky Ricky, as far as the other thing, he did that, but he got away with it. So if you did report IC3.gov and he got their money back, but your money was unfrozen, hopefully that was the case, they're going to get away with it. But see, what eBay tells us is that the buyer will have a ding on their account. Now, unlike you and I, if we have multiple dings, 2, 3, 4 as a seller, we're going to lose our seller status. Okay. And I think there is a point where a buyer can abuse the system so much before they'll step in. And that's at least what eBay says. Problem is, I don't trust a whole lot what eBay says. And we're still waiting for instant payment on best offer that was supposed to come over the summer. So I don't trust a whole lot or buy into 100% of what eBay says. Sorry, eBay, if you're out there watching, I ain't speaking any lies. I'm telling you the truth. I'm only speaking truth on this channel. You may not like the truth, but that's the truth. The truth is, you told us back in the spring seller update, this is coming, and it didn't. So for me, I'm not going to trust eBay 100% with their stats. They're telling us that they're doing this and that to the buyers. Give us a report. Give us a yearly report that says over 2022, we got rid of, 2,000 buyers due to buyer abuse. That'll make me feel like you're actually doing something. I don't need to know the specifics on each specific buyer that rips me off. I'd like to, but I'd like to know that you guys are actually doing something to these bad buyers, and hopefully they don't get away with it. And they are going to get away with it for a while. But if they are truly following up with what they say that they are doing to these buyers, it won't be long before they're losing their account. Thrift Gorilla, I had a similar situation. It was that situation I emailed you about. Never did got it removed. Hope you had a great Memorial Day weekend. You had a good weekend. Was kind of, just slow. I did do some work out in the garage, and I'm always working, just kind of in my blood. I wake up and the first thing I think of is working on eBay. It sounds sad, but that's what I do. Did the little fantasy football draft thing with some friends, and have that stuff going on. So that's something I get to look forward to, have the games going while I'm listing. I know that's not the best formula, but at least to be able to hear the game while I'm working is actually kind of cool too. So I have that to look forward to. But really, normally I do a lot of barbecuing and this, that, and other thing, but it was just work for me this weekend. Let's see. Jay Manchester, I paid over $200 shipping, and now I may have to pay for return shipping. Now, that's the thing. Now, here's the funny thing. Here's the insulting thing. If you submit that to eBay and say, look, this is a false sign ad, and I want compensation on return shipping, they're going to give you, if you're lucky, if they side with you on it, they're going to give you a $6 credit. Okay. I know that's nowhere near what you've paid here. It's quite insulting, actually, but that's what eBay is going to do. Now, I do know sellers. I think Joe from the Crazy New York Driver channel is one that if you send me back, let's say this thing doesn't work, or there's a problem with this part of this item, and you get it back and it's like, there's nothing wrong here. Well, someone like Joe or other people will deduct that from the refund. I mean, maybe something like that. If you're using the refund tool, deduct that amount from the refund. Hold on, guys. We need another viewer. We were over 100 and now it's down to 99. So guys, don't tune away. Hopefully this is good information. So use the refund tool. What the buyer is going to do, and because it's such a big amount, I don't know how that's going to work out. But I do know that you do have that in your arsenal, and you can see that maybe they'll give the buyer that money back if they complain, and you will, you'll not lose the $200. So something to consider. And then you just relist the item if there's no problem with it. Elizabeth Cole. Hi, John. I never miss a live chat. I wanted to ask how I can contact you to take a quick critique of my eBay store. I value your knowledge, opinion, and if you're willing, I promise I'll respond back. Just flippin' ain't easy 2020 at gmail.com. You can hit me up there, or you can hit me up at flippin_ain't_easy 2020 on Instagram, and I'll be glad to take a look. I always do that. It's not a problem. And thank you for watching the live streams and not missing them. That's pretty cool. Picky Ricky says they do remove feedbacks if you get them returned. Sometimes I pay for return just so I can get, so you can get a feedback removed. And even if you try to go in and ask for a negative feedback to be removed because of X, Y, and Z, they'll come back initially and say, no, we can't remove the negative feedback. And then days later, because you've accepted the return, the automated process will kick in and remove it. This happened to me a couple times. Bling Bling Factor Australia. Thanks for catching the live. I appreciate that. And then Tommy, he's in the house. No returns looks like fear. Scammers are coming after fear. Yeah, it's funny. I told you guys about the story where I had a buyer that wanted to return an item, and I accepted the return. Her reasoning was kind of ridiculous because there's nothing wrong with the item. And then out of sheer curiosity, I took the time to look at their store because I saw that they were a seller, and they have a no return policy. I just thought it was really rich for someone to do that. No One Design 2 says putting on return on your list, no return on your listing is like inviting scammers to take you up on your challenge. Yeah, I mean, people know. Look, it's not a secret. You can say no returns all you want on your listings, but people who know better know that, look, I'll still buy this item because there's nothing stopping me from dealing with the return. Now, it may take longer because that seller may not be responsive. That seller may try to just ignore your return request, but that's even worse for the seller because then eBay, if they have to step in, provide you that return label, which the seller is going to be paying for anyway, it's a ding on your account. You get enough of those and you're not going to be top rated seller anymore. Savage Picker says, I'm an advocate for free returns. I've actually switched to free shipping too. Most items in my store are free shipping, free returns, just my opinion. And I think you're right. However, you have to look at it from a business point of view. If I offer free returns on a 20-pound item, do I really want to eat, if it's a $40 item I'm selling and it's going to cost me $20 out of my pocket to accept that return, is this a viable policy in the long run? Is it sustainable? Of course, you shouldn't be thinking about how many returns I'm going to get, but you still need to think in terms of, do I really feel comfortable paying for this 20, 30, 40? I deal with some pretty big items. I have some pretty expensive items for shipping. Do I really want to eat that because buyer just says, oh, I bought the wrong thing, or I changed my mind, or I'm not going to use it? And knowing you have a free return policy, they're just going to take you up on it. So for me, I'd rather be able to say, okay, look, if it's under 2 pounds, free returns. If it's over 2 pounds, now the buyer, if they have remorse, it's going to be on them. And if they decide that, they're going to say that there's something wrong, I have a way to get the item and to see if they're just saying that to avoid a return label, and to then, some people deduct that from their that refund that the buyer has coming back. So there's a number of tools you have at your disposal, in your arsenal. For me, it is going to help you a little bit. It's just like adding one extra little positive to your listing. And I think you're right. I think that a lot of people avoid the free returns. Free shipping, again, it's the same kind of thing. Unless you're able to build that shipping cost into the item cost. For me, if I get the return, let's say I have a $20 return label that, let's say I would have to buy and build into the listing, versus having the buyer pay for it in addition to the lowered cost of the item. Let's say they return it. There's no fault to me. They just return it. Well, guess what? You have to give a refund of the listed amount, which has the built-in shipping. But on items that I have them pay extra shipping for, eBay has that button grayed out. I have to go and click on it to give them that outbound shipping. So I get to retain that. Whereas someone that has free shipping, let's say on a larger item or any size item, that is built into the item cost, and you are required to refund that. And you cannot, or at least you're not supposed to, deduct that amount that you paid for that shipping on the refund. So that's why I don't offer free shipping on larger items. Smaller items, yes, but not the larger ones. No One Design 2 says, I see that on other sellers' listings and think myself, why do I put a target on yourself for scammers? Yeah, but it's not only a target for scammers when you offer no returns, it's telling that prospective buyer that they have no recourse if there's a problem. Okay. Nothing screams bad customer service than a no returns policy. And I would say most buyers that are aware, and those sellers are still going to make sales, and they're basically getting people who may have just blindly bought their item without looking at the return policy, and then figure out after they get the item that they're in a bad situation. And it only works with the buyers who don't know better. And you probably get a negative feedback. And that's really where sellers get the negative feedback from these buyers who don't know better and figure that they're stuck with the item. So their only recourse is to leave a negative feedback, because you're not going to be willing to work with them anyway. So it's just bad all the way around for a seller to offer a no return policy. Jovial Juggler says, first time subscribed YouTuber. Thank you. Really appreciate you and your info. Very informative. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's kind of what we try for. We're building a community here. We're creeping up on 14,000 subscribers. And it's people like you that, just kind of tune in, check out the channel. And while I may not have every answer, while I may not be right 100% of the time, it's not because, I'm not trying. It's not because I'm trying to blow smoke and make things look like they aren't. I'm really trying to help people if I can. So awesome that you're here with us today. Picky Ricky says, free shipping is not good for buyers who buy multiples because you can't combine shipping and give them a great deal. And I think, again, for me, the way I do it, it's based on the size of the item. Under 2 pounds, I'm comfortable doing the free shipping gig. Over 2 pounds, I handle it a little differently. Thrift Gorilla says, eBay needs to force buyers to return the item or negatives are removed. Had a buyer say the item was junk but never returned it. Asked for feedback revision. He said no. Slightly felt targeted. And for me, it's this. If you're a buyer and you get something different in a different condition or broken, why would you want to keep it? I mean, why would any amount of money make you feel better about the item or keeping the item? Why would that even be an option for you? Why would you not reach out to the seller and say, look, how do I return this item? Okay. I've never understood that. And so to allow a buyer to go in, leave negative feedback, and whether they contact you or not, to leave negative feedback without exploring the option of returning it, either you're happy with it or you're not. And of course, here we have eBay. They've been starting recently to now, instead of evaluating, is the item the condition that it was promised? Did the seller, respond to you back in a timely manner. It's now, was the item of good quality? Was, this, that, and the other thing. So now we're focusing on the item that we didn't manufacture, at least most of us didn't manufacture. And I think that's a problem. They shouldn't be trying to, that's an Amazon feedback feature where you evaluate the item and you're not evaluating the seller. With eBay, it's always been, how about your evaluation of the seller, not necessarily the item. I don't know. eBay's got a lot of work to do, and they won't fix these things until they finally listen to us sellers as to what we want. And what we're asking for isn't anything more than either what they promised or what makes sense. And I think if they start looking at it more from a seller's point of view, they're not going to get people like me up here. Some of you guys think I'm whining, and I'm not. I'm seriously just telling you how I feel. I feel passionate about it because I deal with eBay all the time. I live this. I live it just like you're living it. And I feel strongly that I want this to be a better platform to sell on. And unfortunately, I think eBay has lost sight of the seller experience, and it's been that way for quite some time. Prosser's in England, UK. Awesome. Red Cliff's Closet. Great topic. Hi from Colorado. How are you doing? And then we have Regina Stiles. Hi from England. Awesome. I bet you the weather is so nice there in England right now. Ping G says, I have 30-day returns and rarely get a return request. I've been thinking of switching to free returns. That could get my listings as top rated plus, but my sales are really slow right now. So it'll get you to top rated plus. It'll get you an extra 10% on your final value fees. And, look, if you add that to your listing, it's like doing all the little things that we've been talking about. It's not going to make a world of difference. It might make a small difference. It's all a collective thing. So yes, whatever you can do to help improve your listings, if you feel that you can absorb the return when someone changes their mind or just says, I just don't like the item, then go for it. Each seller needs to evaluate that. Remember, your return rate is going to be anywhere from maybe 1% up to 3-4, hopefully not over that, but maybe 5%. And do you want to let's say 1 out of every 100 or 1 out of every 50 items pay for a return label? I guess that's what each of us has to look at, but it's not a whole lot. And again, any expense that you incur may feel like it's out of your pocket and it's a loss, but you're going to have to report this at the end of the year. And this is just one expense that you can deduct from that amount that you report to the government. My wonderful wife is in the house. Hey, Flippin' Fam, how is everyone doing? I hope you're not frying like we are. Yeah, it's hot. I mean, it's so hot out in my workspace, my garage, that the AC unit does help, but it doesn't help as much. I was given some good advice on how to insulate the garage, but at this point, I mean, the thought is maybe another 2 weeks of this, if I'm lucky, and then things are going to start dropping in temperature. I can handle the cold. I like the cold. So if it gets cold, I'm out there working. I'm good. I'm really good. Just bundle up a little bit, and I like it cold. Okay. So I'm good with that. Come, May of next year, I'll evaluate maybe adding that insulation to the garage door, that type of thing. So yeah, definitely good advice. We have, let's see, what do we have here? Picky Ricky says, I also don't send out offers, resulting in 371 of my items with watchers. Send them out. 5%. See, I used to send out offers not to get the sale. Okay. And I do the bare minimum 5% discount. And if I got the sale, great. But for me, it was about getting the boost. So you have two ways of getting the sale: that 5% off discount that you offered a watcher, or you're going to get a boost for putting that offer to a watcher. There's been many times I've sent multiple offers to watchers out, and guess what? That item sold at full price to someone else. So take advantage of that. If you have 371 with watchers, I would go right now, spend about 30 minutes. Maybe what I do is I have a custom template that I make. It's like a 2-line thing. It fits, here's your chance to get a great deal on this item at a great price. sending it out to multiple people who are interested. So act fast because this is all we have left, something like that, because you're creating urgency with the buyer. I'm willing to bet you send out just the bare minimum 5% off to these buyers, you're going to make some sales. Ping G says, I have never promoted either. Now that eBay states the minimum is 2%, I went ahead and promoted 3%. So far, only one sale. May have to rethink this later. Yeah, you gotta promote a little higher. I would say, and you may, if you're really trying to boost your sales, get that up to at least recommended. And but you got to make sure that your profits allow you to do that. So many people, like I read a post where someone was there, they were reselling an item that after all the costs, they're only able to make, I think they sold it for 400 and they're only able to make a $10 profit. And now, with the buyer returning the item, it's going to cause a loss. It's like, why would you do that to yourself? Find items that are going to give you 3-4x your return. And that way you can absorb, more promoted fees or a return label or things like that without losing money. So the goal is find things to sell without losing money. So, I'll find things that I don't necessarily like, but I know it's going to make money and I'll list it anyway. No One Design 2 says, hit the like button, guys. We need John to buy Miss FAE a house somewhere cooler. That would be awesome. But you know what? We kind of chose Las Vegas because of, no state taxes and all that. We lived in California, and anybody who follows California, whether you like the climate of the way things are in this world right now, we decided that we have family and friends out there, but we're going to go to an area that doesn't have all of that going on. Okay. And so we kind of escaped. And, we still have family and friends. So if we've moved further away where there's a better climate, like which would be going east, it'd be a little too far for us. I think we wouldn't be able to go visit our family and friends, and that would kind of suck. Wanda says, when you use eBay International Standard Delivery shipping to Canada, does it include tracking insurance? You do have the option for that. Now, if you go through eBay, yes, they do provide, as it's built in for insurance, but they charge a little more. When you use Pirate Ship, it automatically defaults with no insurance. So if it's a $10 item, I ain't going to insure that. I'll just pay them, $10 if something happens. But you can insure that item, and it's only like a couple bucks. I mean, depending on how much it is. And usually, even after you insure the item through Pirate Ship, you're still paying a little bit less than eBay International Standard through eBay itself. Something to look into. Urban Fossicker says, hi, watching from Australia. Only just discovered your channel. Thanks for the great content. Urban, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and, of course, that notification bell, because we do go live at least once a week. And we're going to have a pretty good guest on Friday, Cincinnati Picker, the man, the myth, and the legend. So looking forward to that. Let's see. Jovial Juggler says, fairly new to eBay, not tech savvy, so I have my challenges and your info helps. Yeah, eBay can be difficult. And I think sometimes all the stuff we talk about can be overwhelming to a new user. But with anything, as you continually practice and focus on different things within the lister, whether you do it on the phone, do it on your computer, it's going to become a lot easier. Give it a month or two and it'll be a lot easier. Let's see. Biff Boffo says, I think your idea about not allowing buyers to directly go nuclear is a good one. It makes sense. I mean, if you really care about the seller protection and seller experience, you're going to take these buyers by the hand and say, wait, we know you have a problem with your item. Before you are allowed to leave a negative feedback, please first reach out to the seller and allow them to solve your situation. If within 48 hours, your situation is not resolved to your satisfaction, you will be able to come back and leave a negative feedback. There's nothing difficult about that. I mean, I guess it might be difficult for eBay because it seems that they're having a hard time getting us the instant payment for best offers to, the best offers. So, Maybe it is difficult, but for most platforms, it shouldn't be hard to add such a disclaimer and a prevention to a buyer leaving a negative feedback. I mean, and they should say, reach out to your seller. Here's another option. Click here to start the return process. I have spoken to many buyers who don't even know how to return the item. So, you know, you tell them, look, try this, try that, and you exhaust everything that's going to make the item work. And then now they're like, well, how do I get a return label? Well, you need to go click on the return button, and you got to tell them where the return button is. If eBay makes that simpler, so they create, and I talk about this a lot, a low effort buying experience. And I think that goes into, it's not just making it easy for them to buy your item. It needs to make it easy for them to understand how to resolve a situation if something comes up. But it shouldn't be as easy as clicking on negative feedback. Let's hurt the seller. That's not productive. That doesn't help a buyer in any way, shape, or form, hurting a seller. And it doesn't necessarily really hurt a seller, but if that's allowed to happen on multiple occasions, now your future buyers are going to be leery of doing business with you. James Helms says, tap that like button. So please, guys, hit the like button. I certainly appreciate it. Picky Ricky says, I did donate 2 of my worst items I had on eBay back to charity this morning. Awesome. Awesome. George Lopez says, hi, John. I would like your opinion on my eBay store. How can I give you my info or get yours? I think you sent me an email. I think I saw it come across on my phone, so I'll take a look at that. I try to do that when I can. It may not be the first day I get it, maybe a day or two, but I'll get to it. Usually I do these reviews late at night when I'm just kind of bored. We've got No Agenda 77. How's it going? Are you still stepping your foot in garage sale waters? I am. And, you know, a couple of our garage sale friends, Archie and I, were going garage selling with Carrie from American Arbitrage and Don from Lady Arbitrage. And hopefully they want to go here pretty soon. Weather's going to start getting a little bit better. And I'm down, definitely. Jovial Juggler says, finally opened an eBay store a year into selling as a top-rated plus seller, and my sales slowed down after that. Assumed opening a store as top-rated would help to increase sales. Wrong. But did you utilize all the features as having an eBay store? Okay. Did you set up not a private, but a public coupon that attaches to your listing? Did you set up a markdown sale? I got to tell you, I have my coupon running all the time, my public coupon, but my markdown sale, when I don't have it running, when I forget to renew it, it kills my sales. So that may be a component to what you're missing if you're not doing it already. Yakov Ben says, hello all. Thanks for hanging out today. Let's see. Tommy says, Jovial, 100% wrong. Your items dictate sales and your listing quality. That too. But I got to tell you, if you're getting a store thinking that, okay, by virtue of me paying eBay this amount of money every month, and it's going to give me a benefit of extra sales, it doesn't work that way. I mean, you'd like to think you're getting something more for your money, but all that does is unlock extra features that you wouldn't have if you didn't have the store. And you got to utilize those features. Of course, like I said, if you have crap and a great listing, or you have a great listing and you're selling crap, it's going to be bad. And I mean, it's not going to be as bad as having a crap listing and a crap item, but it's still going to be pretty bad for your sales. Biscuit Butt, he's finally hanging out with us today. Miller Time is doing a live now too. That's why I'm late. So my son goes by Miller Time. There's no space. It's one word, Miller Time. And he does the Instacart experience. So I didn't know he was doing a live though. He usually just makes his videos and put them out. So, you know, just bad communication. But yeah, so if you check out it, if you're doing the gig thing, you're selling on eBay and you do the driving thing, whether, you know, usually he does the Instacart stuff, but he also does the Amazon stuff. Go check out his channel, give him some love. He's very close to 1,000 subs. And, you know, after we're done, if you guys want to jump on over, that would be awesome. Poshmark is by far the best seller support by 20. Yes, I agree. I recall there being many times where we have a situation on a sale, and Poshmark was very quick and very good about resolving that. I agree with that. Jay Manchester, I've had a steady amount of sales until an issue with the buyer is open. I'm not at fault, but I feel like I'm getting repercussions for an open dispute. You think this is possible? I think anything negative, like an open return or an open case, I just think that it's not good for your account. It can't be good. Now, I think that everything that you do has a small, there's a small penalty built in. That's just my thought. I may be 100% wrong, but it seems like every time I have an open return, of course, it seems like returns comes in bunches, and I hate talking about this subject because I don't want to talk about returns, because whenever I do on these lives, returns happen. Let's talk about sales. But when something negative happens, I usually see a small decline in sales. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm looking for it, but it can't be good. Tommy says, although I very, very, very rarely have an issue eBay support doesn't take care of, it's been almost 2 years now since they wouldn't fix an issue. And fortunately for you, you haven't had some of the problems I have. Some of these buyers are just, and I think I've proven that with my other account, that there are different buyers that will, depending on what you're selling, will treat a situation differently. I think with collectibles, there's less scammers than just general goods. And it could be because you're dealing with better buyers than I am. That's definitely possible. No One Design 2 says, my eBay concierge, well, lucky you, wish I had one, gave me a little tip on item specifics on a listing. He said the blue circle wheel is just a visual indicator and not to be used to fill up. He also said, if your item specifics does not apply to your item, do not put anything on there. Do not put NA or does not apply. Just leave it blank. Software only wants to see what is in the required field and not the recommended. I agree with that. Again, I will use see description sometimes when I don't have a definitive answer, but I know my description will probably, that sounds kind of ridiculous. Sometimes I don't quite understand what the item specific is asking for, but that works for me. Certainly. But if you know, or if it is possible to find out what that value is for what they're asking for, I think there's a lot of sellers who just say, it's not important, but maybe you should find out. And so I agree with you. There's no way to know it doesn't apply, but there's a lot of people that leave that blank when it does apply. Oh, and by the way, while we're on that subject, guys, do me a favor. When the item specifics is asking for a character name, stop saying it's blue, okay? It's like almost every time they feel the need to put a character name for the item specific and they use blue, and it just makes me crazy because I have to go in there and unselect it. I think blue is the probably the most popular item specific that doesn't apply, that's used on anywhere on eBay. Let me know if I'm wrong, but it drives me nuts when I come across that. And of course, they're using blue as the item. Let's see. ROFL Copter is a really old gamer way of saying laughing hysterically like a madman. Okay. So yeah, I don't know what the Copters is, but okay. That's I don't remember that. I used to play games all the time, but never heard that. Picky Ricky says, I told them the inks weigh less and I could prove it all. They didn't care this time, but you can certainly, if you had like a database, or if you had maybe a visual proof, maybe a picture of it on the scale, it doesn't matter. eBay will allow you as a seller to deduct up to 50%. Your photos or the verbiage you put in that return request is just a way to justify why you've deducted what you've deducted. And eBay usually will allow you to, get that deduction just with the information you type in there. Paul Mendelson says, sales are very slow for my type of items, electronic parts. Why do sellers receive send offer to buyer for an active item if the allow buyer to make offer is not checked? Because they're considering, if you have someone that's looked at your item, they're considered watchers, whether they're looking at it to maybe sell the same item or looking at it because they generally were interested. It gives you an option to touch base with them again. And even if you don't have a best offer selected, that's a different component. So eBay is just trying to get you the sale. Of course, that's how they make money. They're trying to find ways, and it's a win-win for everyone. But you know, whether you have best offer selected or not, but if your sales are slow, you should really be considering every option. And of course, we go back to the same thing. If your sourcing allows you to have extra padding to make money, then you'll be able to select all these features and still make some money. Nick M says, printers are a pain in the behind. Glad I don't have any for sale. I did figure out how to refill mine through such a nice device once you iron out all the quirks of putting in your own ink. Yeah, I'm shying away from printers because it's a crapshoot. Sometimes even if it works for you, they get it. They're not happy with it. They try to say something's wrong when there's not. I've had it all. I've had people have the printer for a good month, and then at the last minute open a return, you get it and there's nothing wrong. Or they beat it all to hell, and now you are dealing with an item in a different condition. So that can be frustrating. Let's see. Try to catch up to you guys. Ed says the $6 reselling credit is just a big slap to sellers' faces. Let's assume you get the credit at all. And I've only had it once. I use that refund tool a lot, and many times out of pocket. At eBay, and I've even called eBay. It ain't likely to happen. Let me put it that way. Let's see. Tommy says, I'm just trying to get caught up to you guys. Free shipping and returns is eBay circa 2010. Look at the amount of sales that come from offers sent and best offers received, then your returns. Any volume seller would lose thousands per year. And yeah, you'd lose a lot of money. The argument is the additional sales that you'd gain by having that offsets the extra returns that you'd receive. So I'm not willing to test that theory out with the higher priced items or the heavier items. So I just, that's the formula I use and it works. Captain Photon says, I sell high-end items that once opened are not new anymore. I let the buyers know that this is the reason I don't accept returns. In 4 years, I've had one scammer. I guess it's the people I deal with. But for me, I think you'd probably have more sales and higher placement in search if you put at least buyer pays for return shipping. Let's see. No One Design 2 says volume sellers, free returns and shipping is a must. I agree, but again, it's dependent on the type of item you're selling. Nick M says they got the review thing, but that's only in certain things, unfortunately. Thrift Gorilla says, I agree, and that's why they have a product review spot. Actually, product review shouldn't be part of feedback. Feedback should strictly be how as sellers are, packaging, communication, detail, etc. 100% agree with you. And that's all I'm trying to say when it comes to the feedback process. Again, eBay is trying to slowly merge themselves over to being the Amazon experience and, just be eBay. That's all I've ever asked them to be. Let's see. Peter Harmer says, in the UK, sellers' full name, address, zip code are displayed in all the listings. Even if you're a private seller, no data protection leads to dishonest buyers. I've seen that. I saw that in a listing. I was doing some research and happened to be a UK seller. And I looked at the listing and I was like, wow, that can't be because they want their information out there. They provided their name and their address in the, in the listing. That's horrible. And that's what I put a video out about that a year ago, because there's people in Congress that's trying to get your information on the front page of your listing to show the world who you are, your address, and I think in some cases your phone number, which I think is absolutely horrible. We're just sellers. We're not Walmart. We're not Amazon. Why give? Look, then if you're concerned about sellers that are out to get other buyers and to defraud buyers, then vet us a little bit more. We give you all of our information. I don't know how you would go about doing it. That's not my job to figure out, but don't put our information like that in our listings. That's horrible. And I think that would drive a lot of sellers away if you did that. Dom says, I've had an auction winner immediately cancel a sale 2 weeks in a row. Absolutely sucks because of the time wasted. eBay needs to do something about these buyers blocking report. It isn't enough. But to make me try to, 5 hours to go on the listing, and you're going to make me rely on a customer communication when they've already said they want to cancel. No, I'm not pulling that. I'll wait until I get the answer I'm looking for. Picky Ricky says, I'll send offers when desperate. And I just think it's part of the consistency thing. I do it every day. I'm consistent with it. Yeah, I'm taking a few bucks off of an item I would rather maybe have sold for higher. But guess what? I'm not opening my museum anytime soon, and I want these items gone. So it just depends on how much you want to just flip, right? We're trying to churn through our items so we can replace what we've sold and maybe invest the profit into more inventory. Tommy says sellers are as bad as buyers, love to complain, but not to put in the work. Yes, I agree with that 100%. And I'm not saying anyone here is, but I see that all the time. Trust me on that. Let's see. Whoops. I'm clicking randomly to try to catch up to you guys. Picky Ricky says, because I'm growing, if I send out and sell them, I go backwards. I'm in a growth mission. Yeah, you want to be on a growth mission, and that is churning the items, getting that money back. I mean, I have a lot of dog items that I would love to take a deal on just to get them out of here. Dom says, can I block a buyer who hasn't paid on the seller's items? Yeah, you could block them anytime. I do that, and I let them know they're blocked so that there's no surprises. And the fastest way to do that, if you're looking to find out where that is, you can just simply do a Google search, eBay block buyer, and it's like the second link, and click on that. And I think you click on another link, and it'll take you right to that list. Let's see. Nick says, price items higher to allow to send for offers. Send them out during the daytime, wherever you're at, gives you an eBay extra advertising. I like to get up in the morning, send offers, and maybe in the evening, send offers as well. I know people send them throughout the day, but I'm not always in front of my computer screen. So that's how I do it. Let's see. Tommy says, I want 0 listings. I'm trying to hardest down to 30, 40-ish. Yeah, I was at 725 and now I'm down under 550, and it isn't like I'm trying, but you know what? I guess that's what you want. You want to really, if you're building a store, if you're building a store, what are you doing? You're not getting a lot of sales, I guess. And for me, I guess it's working, but I want more. I mean, I'm never happy, I guess. I guess it's people that are probably watching this video saying this guy's just, he's not grateful, but I am grateful. But if you get complacent in this business, that's where you start. That's where you start to fail. Once you get happy with where you're at, it's just a matter of time before you just start getting lazy and falling off. So never be satisfied with where you're at. Always try to improve and keep going. Howard Blair says, I'm new to this, and you, the first person I ran into just watching your experience. Thanks, Howard. Hit that subscribe button. I'd appreciate that since you're new to the channel. Thanks for hanging out with us. I appreciate that. Trying to go down here. I think I missed greetings, John, from Tim. Just started my web interpret account today. Fingers crossed. Hopefully loads of international orders are on my future. Web Interpret currently has a free 30-day business plan, and you can drop down the cheap standard plan at 30-day mark. So not familiar with Web Interpret? Maybe you can send me an email. Let me know what that is. We have the bearded poke tuber. So that's not the bearded picker, but we have the bearded poke tuber. Says, hey, y'all. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Ping G says, for 50% deduction, you need to be top rated with a 30-day return policy. That is not correct. For the 50% deduction for the refund tool, you need to be either a top rated seller with a 30-day return policy. Notice there's a word missing there, or any other seller that has 30-day free returns. So there is a definite difference there. If you are not top rated seller, it does pay to have free returns. But if you're a top rated seller, you have a little bit more leeway in just offering the 30-day buyer pays returns. Let's see. Jovio Juggler says, I spend so much time trying to create quality listings. I'm not reaching daily listing goals. And, there's nothing wrong with getting out there. This is kind of what I do. I'll go out and create my listings, right? They're not perfect. I mean, my item descriptions aren't perfect at all. They're not formatted, but I'm on my phone. I'm getting them listed. And then when I go back in later in the evening, I really try to get in there and start updating my listings. So that's why you'll see sometimes on my listings, they're not really formatted. They have a lot of information in the item description, but they're not formatted the way that I discussed on the last video. Not all of them, at least, because I'm just trying to get that process done on the phone. And then when I come back to the computer, I'll go back and edit those listings. Tommy says, be careful with web interpret. You are responsible for what goes on other eBay sites. Unlike regular eBay, you'll get banned fast if you sell a prohibited item. So yeah, maybe something to look into. Biscuit Butt says, let's all raid my son, Jonathan. He's also go by John, his account when done. Let's see. I'm almost done, by the way. Whiplash the Snake says, I'm currently sitting on a pile of roughly 150 genuine suit jackets from various posh brands that I got in mass for $1 each. Take any offer I get on them if it's less than 50%. Throw those things up at $4.99 auction and get those out. Just flip them. That's one way I do it. Let's see. Tommy says, my mission is growing on the 90-day. If I'm growing my listings is backwards, people watch bad channels. Imagine Walmart using that model. Yeah, they'd be even bigger than they are now. So yeah, the item is to churn. Get those items listed, get them sold, and accept less than what you're hoping for. Part of reselling isn't getting everything you want. It doesn't work that way. Because a seller has sold the item for $100 doesn't mean you're going to get $100. Look, I had that Kodak thing that I told you about, that slide projector. I had it at $100 because other people sold it at $100. I couldn't get $100. After a couple of weeks, I said, okay, let's get 80. Okay, let's bring it down to 70. Okay, well, you know what? Forget it. No one's even biting it at 70. I'm just going to I paid for the 3 different ones. I paid $25 at a yard sale. Put it up at $19.99 plus shipping. Okay, if I only get $19.99, it was a bad buy. Move on, take it and reflip it into something else. But guess what? There was a bidding war and it got up to 102 plus shipping. Hey, that's awesome. So find ways to get your items out of here. You don't want them in your house more, or your garage, or wherever you're at, really more than 30 days. That's why when I get to that 30-day period, now I start putting it on Mercari. I start doing things, lowering the price, finding ways to get rid of that item. Let's see. No One Design 2 says, I'm rating Miller Time and watching FAE. Awesome. Thanks for that. Tommy says, cash flow is king, always will be. That is 100% correct. And that's where we're going to end this particular program. We're almost an hour and a half in. So for some, that's too long. 111 people are watching, guys. On the way out, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. I'd appreciate that. I'm doing a series of different stuff where we're going into the listing. We're focusing on different areas of the listing to not only tell you what I think, but also tell you what eBay is expecting you to do. I launched a video for your title, one for your item description. We're working on item specifics, photos, and all that stuff very soon. So stay tuned for that. Check out the description in the bottom underneath for if you're looking to cross list, prime lister, and of course, we've got the Flippin' Ain't Easy merch, hats, shirts, bags, all that stuff. Go check it out. Support the channel. I'd appreciate that. Click on the link down below. But guys, let me just say this. Seller protections or limited seller protections, it's something that we have to work with, and each seller needs to learn what those seller protections are so that we are protected. We know how to protect ourselves when things happen that shouldn't, which thankfully doesn't happen a lot. But once we have that information, we know exactly what to do and we can be prepared. I think sometimes it's the lack of preparedness that hurts people, because then they react without knowing on how to handle a situation. And yet seller protection is just another example of how flipping ain't easy. And I want you guys to have an excellent start to your week. Look out for some videos from me here this week. But Friday, be here at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And we have our special guest, Cincinnati Flipper, and looking forward to that. And so should you. And again, have a great week and keep making those sales and keep optimizing your listings. Have a great one, everyone.